we haven't played the Temple Grandin video. I was hoping we would play that one first before I say hi. So let's go straight to that one.
I'm Philippa Fabry. Welcome to the Show Your Superpowers series. Conversations with engineers, entrepreneurs, creatives, founders, scientists, thought leaders, disruptors, and warriors. Here to provide insight into what differently able children can become, given the right environment, teachers, and parenting. Because just asking the right questions and listening to what our children need can turn real challenges into superpowers that can change their world. Here we go.
You know, you never get cured of autism. But what you do is you learn better, is you learn more and more things.
Well, I didn't speak until I was 4. Now I have a BA and a master's, and I'm studying for my doctorate.
I can remember the frustration of not being able to talk. I couldn't get my words out. My speech came in gradually, a few words at a time. When I was a little kid, I was very autistic, nonverbal, rocking. You know, that's the kind of kid they just put away in the institution. But I had a speech teacher that worked really hard with me, and I can't emphasize enough the importance of young children getting early intervention. You got a 2-year-old or 3-year-old with no speech, don't wait. High school was absolutely worst part of my life. Teasing, teasing, teasing. I got kicked out of school for throwing a book at a girl, teased me because, you know, teasing really made my life miserable. And the only places I could get away from teasing was the specialized activities. Things like horseback riding, electronics lab, model rocket club. The line was drawn in the sand. I was not allowed to become a recluse in my room. I had to get out and do things. I'm always kind of baffled at just how illogical people are in their thinking. I'm very logical in my thinking. But when I was younger, I didn't know that other people thought more in words. You see, I think in pictures. If I don't have a picture, I don't think. And my mind is very, very associative. Being a visual thinker, I tend to put things into categories. You see, autism is a very big spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, you got half the people at Silicon Valley. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got somebody who's very handicapped, remains nonverbal, is going to have to live in a supervised living situation. Really, really big spectrum. And, you know, Einstein probably be labeled autistic today in a lot of school systems because he had no speech until age 3. I'm interested in seeing something that makes real change. I've done a lot of work that's made a lot of improvements in the livestock industry, and I think I've helped a lot of kids succeed. I want to see the kids that are like me succeed. That's the kind of stuff that makes me happy, when I see the things that I do make a difference.
There we go. Temple Grandin. Guys, if you haven't watched that movie, try and get hold of that movie. It was a great, great movie. Good evening. My name's Philippa Fabry. Welcome to the Show Your Superpower series. And I have to say, I'm so enjoying these Wednesday evening sessions. It allows us to just interact on a different level, to meet people from all over the world, and just to unpack, or what I like to say, demystify the mysteries about these disabilities, these disorders, the diagnosis that come along with the labels, unfortunately, that sometimes we have to work with in the schooling environment. So I hope you are comfortable, that you've got something to drink, or you in a nice comfortable chair, there are no distractions, and I'd love to get interaction from you as well. So this is a Q&A. This is your opportunity to ask questions, to put your comments in, and share experiences of either teaching a child with autism. You might have a child with autism, or you might be someone with autism yourself. So this is a safe place to share and form bonds and relationships. So as I said, this is Show Your Superpower series. My name's Philippa Fabry, and tonight Danny and I am going to introduce her in a minute. We just realized that between the two of us, we have over 62 years of experience in the classroom. We're not giving away our ages by no means, but we come with a wealth of experience and expertise, both of us, teachers, special needs, educators and parents. We both have kids of our own, so we are able to wear both hats. So without any further ado, let's welcome my partner in crime, Danny, to the stage.
Hi, Phil.
Hello. We are literally just scratching the surface tonight of what autism is, and hopefully just to really start a conversation around the superpowers that go along with having autism. And I think I'm going to steal a quote of yours, Danny. You said something about when you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism.
That in turn was a
Hey.
quote from Dr. Stone.
Yes, and it's so true.
Very
what Temple
true.
Grandin was saying about the fact that it's a spectrum from very extreme to high functioning, and no child with autism is alike. Is like any other child with autism. Hi, Sandra. Great to see you. So, Dan, do you want to just give us a definition? Let's jump right in and start deep diving into what is autism. Give us a definition.
Sure. Autism, ASD, is an umbrella term, and it refers to neurodevelopmental disorders. Now, neurodevelopmental refers in turn to the brain and the development of the neural pathways that influence everything that we do. So in other words, that impacts on everything from reading skills, writing, through to social development and intellectual abilities. It's characterized by social interaction, verbal, non-verbal communication, and repetitive behaviors. There we go, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. And the spectrum, the fact that it is a spectrum, which we said before.
Yeah, in 2013, the American Psychiatric Association redefined the criteria, the diagnostic criteria. So what's happened is we now have broadened the spectrum, and it includes people like Professor Grandin, who is a professor in animal behavior at the Colorado State University, just by the way, right through to the other end of the spectrum, where you have people that cannot care for themselves and will be in a care facility, so that's why it's a spectrum, and it's very, very broad. And no two people, I just also quickly want to say, we always refer to, or generally we speak about children with autism, forgetting that it's people with autism, because those children become adolescents and become young adults and become adults and get older. So it's people with autism, because we don't want to focus only on the children. And, everyone is different and they develop differently and they have different strengths and different superpowers.
And the pervasive developmental disorder, which was also sort of an umbrella term, and autism fitted underneath that category.
PDD was part of, it fell under the umbrella of autism. So that was when, not otherwise specified, is when the child is showing characteristics, but not according to the triad of impairment. So they are not they can't fully be diagnosed as being autistic, but they have specific character traits thereof. It's
And
like children, no, I was just going to say that's where the changes come in when they redefined what autism is. So although we still refer to Asperger's syndrome, PDD, as you've just spoken about now, autism, they are now all under that umbrella of autistic spectrum disorder.
And quite a new profile as well that I've come across is the pathological demand avoidance, which I would like to chat about on a later episode, I think, because it's a relatively new term. It isn't in the DSM-5, but it seems to be also one of the autism profiles, or it fits under that umbrella, this pathological demand avoidance, where the children avoid just day-to-day sort of tasks for fear of there's just this avoidance for whatever reason. So there's a huge anxiety when it comes to having to do simple things, or follow the rules, follow society's rules that are not as obvious. They're so scared of not knowing what's coming next. So it's just a very interesting sort of research area that I think we can chat about at a later stage. And I just wanted to say that it again, these are things that even Danny and I, after how many years of being in the space of special needs education, we are still learning about children who have these traits. And it's exciting. It's exciting for us. We never stop learning. Hashtag no limits to learning, as I say. Dan, the prevalence. So are boys more, do we find more autism in boys than in girls?
For generally, there's 4% more boys than what there would be girls. You know, it's very difficult to get stats for South Africa. So we look at the stats globally, internationally, and according to those, 1 to 2% of the people are on the spectrum. So what South African researchers have done is they've applied those same stats to South Africa. But, you know, in sub-Saharan Africa, we only have something like 45 or 50 psychiatrists and psychologists who deal specifically with developmental behaviors and problems with children. So that's very, very few people if you consider the volume of people that are needing assistance, and especially parents who are wanting their child to be diagnosed. It's very, very difficult to find someone who can give you an accurate diagnosis. And
Well, who
certainly,
would you go to?
well,
Who would you go
would.
to?
You know, I think the first port would be to go to your pediatrician or to your GP, and they will cross-refer you to a child psychiatrist, someone who is very focused on dealing with children and their neurological development. In PE, there is only one person that I know of. Yes, I think there's just one person in PE, but she is so full that she's got about a 6-month waiting list. So it's very frustrating for parents because, you know, time is of the essence, because we heard Temple Grandin say early intervention is vital, as with everything else. So that would be the first person to go to, would preferably be the pediatrician, who would then cross-refer you, because it's easier to get an appointment through a referral than to go directly to those specific professionals. And many people move out of PE, go to Cape Town, go to Bloem, you know, so that they can find somebody who is able to assist.
Because generally, it's not just one person that makes that diagnosis. I would like to think that there's a team that have to be involved, including the parent and the teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
What normally happens is that is why when you go to the pediatrician, it's preferable that that person, male or female, cross-refers you, because it's a panel that normally make that diagnosis of the child who's on the spectrum. And they don't just do it within half an hour or half a day. They spend, I think it is 2 to 3 days as a panel observing this child in the classroom. And then they sit together, they go through all the information that they've gathered, and finally then they will say, yes, this child's on the spectrum, and they take it from there. So no, there isn't a GP or a pediatrician who after a 15 minutes consultation can say your child is autistic. Very, very seldom can that happen.
And I think parents need to understand that you can't go to one specialist and just in discussing the traits of the child without the child even being present, get a diagnosis. I think we both agree that there needs to be background information taken. There needs to often be a cross-referral to another therapist or specialist. And I think at this point, Danny, you and I must tell everybody that we are putting together a database of these specialists who we deal with on a daily basis, that we know deal with children, that this is their area of specialization. They understand autism, they understand ADHD, they understand dyslexia, and we're wanting a one place for parents to go to get this information, and we are putting together a database. So guys, just watch this space. Let's just have a look at some comments there. I see Angela, Sherry, hi, Sherry House. Angela's there, Joshua's there, Karen is there. I don't know if there are any specific questions, but you're more than welcome to share your own experiences with autism tonight. This is interactive. We would welcome questions coming through. We want to get down to the superpowers and how we sort of celebrate these strengths in these particular children. So I think there are sensory strengths, their cognitive strengths, and their behavioral strengths. And if I can just start with the sensory strengths, it would be things like that they are very acutely aware of visual things. So they have a very keen sense of sight. They generally are very well, they're good at seeing patterns, color. They have an intense interest in those kind of art, creative sort of areas. They have a very keen sense of smell and taste, and they also, their hearing is very good. They generally can hear patterns, visual patterns, auditory patterns, things like that. They often have this sort of tunnel vision where they can hyper focus, and that's where these interests come in, that they have a particular interest, like with Temple, she had that interest with cattle and her horseback riding, so they're very focused on that. I mean, Danny and I have both come across children that we've taught who have got they're obsessed with trains or dinosaurs or bridges or things like that. That is their thing. They love that. And I think, just that heightened sense, almost like a spidey sense that they have. The cognitive strengths. Do you want to chat about the cognitive strengths, Dan?
Sure. Like Temple Grandin says, I'm different, I'm not less. And cognitively speaking, these kids have got, and adults have got very, very logical brains. They would prefer to do things, for example, linked to maths, science, engineering, because that brings out the part of your logical brain. And generally, you don't really have to have that much to do with other people because they prefer working on their own. They pick up reading incredibly quickly. Their logical brain, they like to learn in a visual way. Like Temple Grandin also said, she's a visual learner. And
she
that helps. She thinks
said,
that's actually, yes, that's the title of one of her books, Thinking in Pictures. Yeah,
Right.
Thinking in Pictures. They also memorizing of information and specific factors and detail. They're sticklers for detail, which is incredible. Time management, everything has got to be on time. Routine, they are very aware of the...
Melanie van Jaarsveld, she says, my son is very much into numbers and time.
Okay.
Very
Yes, well,
about time,
that's making sure you're on time, getting to places, being precise, and routine. I know there are children, for example, who, when they are taken to school, if they are, for example, at Quest and they're living in Sunridge Park, if you take one specific route to school every day, that is the route you take. Don't divert, because you could end up with a meltdown in the car, because they like that routine. They like predictability. It's the same as, don't say to a child that is on the spectrum, if they say, can we go for ice creams? Don't say maybe or later. That's indefinite.
Yes or no.
You have to be definite. It's yes or no. And then it was, when will we go? We'll go at 3:00. Not at 3:01. So, they have a strong adherence to rules and what is right and what is wrong. I'll go over to you, Phil.
Yes, and also the behavioral traits, things like they're incredibly loyal. They have a very strong work ethic, making sure that they are never absent, boy. If if they're really feeling poorly or under the weather, they will still go to work, because that's what they're meant to do. That's what they've always felt, that I have to go to work. I can't miss work. So they value structure, routine, and sameness, which is often why they're happy to do the routine sort of same tasks, because there's sameness, and that's what gives them that sort of sense of security. I'm going to read a quote, and I love this. So this is one of the websites that I went on, and we will share the websites with you at the end of this. I can embrace who I am, or I can reject who I am. I can see myself having superpowers, or I can see myself having symptoms. I can tame my kryptonites, or I can drown in my challenges. I can cherish my uniqueness, or disown my peculiarities. I can utilize my cognitive abilities, or let my sensitivities overpower me. I can see what is great about who I am, or I can loathe who I am. How I choose to perceive myself affects my life, other autistic people, and people's perceptions of autism. I'm going to read that again. How I choose to perceive myself affects my life, other autistic people, and people's perceptions of autism. And the whole reason why we're wanting to do these Show Me or Show Your Superpower series is to bring out the gifts and talents and amazing traits of people who have had a rough time trying to fit into society's rules, trying to fit into the schooling system, and just trying to be the best that they can be. And I see Joshua is online, and it's perfect that we've just put a comment up here from Joshua, because on the 28th, guys, diarize the 28th of July. I'm going to be introducing Joshua Fowler. He is a student, he's 24 and he's from Cape Town. He has studied at the Waterfront Theatre under Delia Sainsbury, and he has just qualified with a qualification as a dancing instructor. I think he's done tap and modern. I hope I get that right, but we'll delve into that when he comes onto the show. But what an amazing young man. I've been reading about his story, how he's struggled with things like getting onto public transport and having to get to varsity every day, dealing with the loud music in the rehearsal room, and getting used to performing in front of crowds. And he says he relates to all of this a lot. So why I'm telling you about Joshua is that we're going to continue our autism conversation by meeting another student, and I'm hoping that another Elson Academy student that I've been twisting his arm to come on as well will be hopefully joining Joshua on the 28th of July. So this is your opportunity to diarize the 28th of July to talk a little bit more about autism. Guys, any more questions, please send them through. Dan, any last words before we go this evening?
I'd like to just say, instead of trying to change that autistic child that may be in your family, try and understand them. And I heard a quote once, try and speak autistic, if that makes sense. So try and put yourself in that child's place so that you can identify with that child's needs and concerns and worries, and share in what they're experiencing in life. Don't try and change them to conform to society.
And I think that's a lot of the neurodiversity that we've been discussing, especially if it's autism or ADHD or dyslexia. You know, just don't try and change yourself to fit in. Society must fit in with you. And I think it's all about creating awareness. It's about creating this acceptance and not even tolerance, because why should we have to tolerate? You know, it's just this acceptance and compassion that everybody's different. Everybody has a right to be on this earth. And it's just about making, getting on with each other, really, and trying to level the playing field as much as possible. I also just forgot to mention, also on the 14th of July, which is next Wednesday, while I'm talking about dates coming up, and as the questions are coming through, I'm just going to keep going because I want to get to some questions. But on the 14th, Danny, we've got Cheryl Porter Reynolds. She has gone through such trials and tribulations, divorce, death, this horrible disaster, and she's going to be talking about parenting through the storm. Through the storm, dealing with death, divorce, and disaster as a mom, and how you get through the other side unscathed along with your children that you're trying to protect at the same time. So as you are healing, so you need to, be looking after your children and hope that they're healing along with you. So that's the 14th. And then on the 21st, and I saw she popped in earlier on the comments. Go back to the first couple of comments, Gino. We're going to be talking about, there, Sandra, Fragile X syndrome on the 21st of July. So also diarise the 21st of July, Sandra Fraser. Fragile X syndrome awareness day is the 22nd of July. So we're going to be doing a show about Fragile X syndrome, and I know they're going to be doing some incredible things. They're lighting up the Hobie Beach Pier with orange, and they're lighting up the Niagara Falls with teal, a color. And so we're going to be talking about Fragile X syndrome on the 21st. I'm so excited about that. Comments. I also mentioned about the fact that we're getting this resource together, guys. So if you're wanting the show notes of this from this evening, if you're wanting this list of resources, hello, Angela. Can we get advice on helping our young adults with autism, with socializing, etc.? That is an ongoing issue. Can we get advice on helping our young adults with autism, with socializing? So I'm going to talk about my experience of this because my son has got high functioning autism, and he does not want to go out and be with people. He's quite happy being at home on his computer. He socializes on his games with his tribe, but he really doesn't, he's not all that interested. I think he's more of an introvert. But again, it's what your child, what they're craving for. If your child is craving for friends, then yes, sure. I think it's probably quite important to try and get onto these. I know there are support groups in PE. There's a group that used to get together. I don't know if they still do, obviously because of COVID. But they would do things like they would go and braai, or they would go 10-pin bowling, or they would do things together. I know that there is an autism support group in PE for young people. Joan Jaritzma would have that information, Angela. So please send me a message. I can give you that info. Dan, I don't know if you have any advice there.
There's a really good book. It's an advice sort of series for parents, layman's terms. And I just cannot recall the title. I've got it on my bookcase. But I will send that through to you, Phil, and then you can just pass that on to Angela. Because going into adolescence,
and really battled,
it's adolescence is difficult enough as it is. So but that book has got some really wonderful suggestions in it. So I'll pass that info on to you.
Okay. Joshua says he can relate to all of this a lot. So Joshua, when we chat on the 28th, I'm hoping that you're going to have some amazing insight into helping other people with relationships, meeting new people. Karen says, I read something that changed my perspective. We are like foreign beings in an autistic person's world rather than them being foreign in ours. I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's true. Yes, I think that's about it. We're going to wrap up. Guys, if like I said, if you are wanting more resources, if you're wanting more information, please contact Danny or myself. We can certainly pass on that to you. We've told you about the 14th of July. That's going to be Cheryl Porter Reynolds. The 21st is Sandra. That's going to be Fragile X syndrome. And the 28th is going to be Joshua Fowler, our amazing performer from Cape Town. So keep a lookout on that. And Danny, thank you so much again for spending Wednesday night with me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here.
And we'll be in touch about that website, that education services website that we're getting up and going. So excited. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful